Background. My original roommate and I have a mutual friend who is our landlord. I moved in because he was struggling to pay rent, which impacted my best friend. He missed an entire month of rent and my friend lowered his rent at his own expense to help him. I came in to rent a room to help out. To be clear, I paid more rent than my roommate knew because my landlord friend couldn't really afford the charity decrease. I can't tell the roommate because he would feel entitled to pay even less. I accepted this. But then the roommate got a girlfriend and 2 months into the relationship, he moves her and her 2 poorly behaved children in. This is a 4-bedroom 1-bathroom place. The children scream and throw tantrums and the mother is exceptionally demanding both to me, her boyfriend, and our landlord. She is costing money by finding every little thing under the sun to be fixed or replaced, the kitchen counters need to be replaced, etc. She takes up almost all of the common spaces. She weaponizes her anxiety to get her way. To top it off, they are living all together at the same price that my roommate was paying when he was single. I did the math, utilities included, they pay $200 per person and I pay $400. Yet they dominate the place and dictate everything. Now, here is where I am asking if I'd be the idiot. My friend is considering selling the place to me as a lease to own. Would I be the idiot if I bought the place and gave them 30 to 60 days notice to get out? To clarify, they don't have a lease and pay month to month. I paid in advance through next year. Not the idiot. But you should really reconsider. Do you really want to share a house with people who you are evicting for 2 months? Not sure if you're in the United States, but here, the law is almost always on the side of the tenant. If they want to make your life a living hell, they will do it. And you can't call the sheriff to assist with an eviction until a couple months at least, although I think it's 90 days. Since you can afford to buy a house, don't let your feeling of obligation to your friend force you into buying his house. Buy a house somewhere else and get the hell out of that toxic situation. Not the idiot. But it may be a better strategy to keep the details of the sale confidential until after they move out. Simply let the current owner inform them that the house is being sold and that all tenants will have to vacate as the new owner intends to occupy the house. If the charade needs to be maintained in the future and they discover you're still living there, simply say that the new owner changed plans and asked you if you wanted to stay. There is no reason to let anyone else know that you own the house, at least until they've all moved out. In my country, giving them 3 months to move out is required by law and I think that's fair. That will give them enough time to find something. Even though her children are badly behaved, you don't honestly want them to be homeless, do you? Nevertheless, they aren't entitled to cost other people's money and nerves. If they want a nice place, where everything is as new, they have to pay for it. They cannot expect others to pay for their lifestyle. Therefore, not the idiot, as long as you give them enough time to find another place. I, 24, am close to my brother, 29, but he's pretty unreliable. He is late for absolutely everything, everyone in our family knows this. Background. A few weeks ago, our sister, 27, got into a terrible car accident. She spun out on black ice, a semi-truck hit her head-on, and she ended up in the hospital. Her little car was totally and completely crushed. It's a miracle that she's alive, and we're all so grateful that it turned out okay. Well, this incident really shook me up and gave me a wake-up call. I've been extremely nervous to drive after seeing my sister's totaled car, so I have been super careful. I go the exact speed limit, or under, I keep longer lengths between myself and other cars, I don't do anything risky at all. I know it sounds a bit paranoid, but the accident is still so fresh for our family. A few days ago, my brother had a job interview in another state. He asked me to drive him to the airport in the morning, and I agreed. When my brother told me what time to pick him up, I said I didn't think he gave himself enough time. I told him I'd pick him up 30 minutes earlier, as I refused to speed for him. I reminded him of our sister's accident and how I'm trying to be more careful driving on icy roads. He told me I was crazy, but he agreed to be ready at that time. The morning of his flight, I arrived at the agreed time. Of course, in typical fashion, my brother was running late. We ended up leaving an hour later than he had planned because he wasn't fully ready. The whole ride to the airport, my brother was yelling and swearing at me to speed up because he was going to miss his flight. I went slightly over the speed limit, but I told him I didn't feel comfortable going faster in traffic, also, the roads were slick. I started panicking. He continued to huff and puff and flip out at me. When we got to the airport, he grabbed his bags and sprinted inside. I left. He ended up texting me that he missed his flight and that I ruined his job opportunity for being a freaking idiot. He won't talk to me at all now. I feel really bad for making him miss his flight and job interview. But I won't apologize for being careful after our sister got into a traumatizing accident. Am I the idiot? Your brother is an idiot. It was kind of you to drive your brother to the airport at all. The fact that he was an hour late is not your fault. You should not have to speed and have someone berate you because they could not get their part together to be on time. You in no way made him miss his flight or interview, that is entirely on him. Also, I am so sorry for what happened to your sister. I can't imagine it would be easy to drive after. Please don't be so hard on yourself. Not the idiot. I once offered to drive a friend to the airport, which was 2 hours out from us, forgot to fill up my gas beforehand, had to panic pull over on the highway to Nowheresville, and barely got him there in time for his flight. I was legit worried he wouldn't make it. He still was nothing but grateful and kinder than I deserved about me doing him a favor, because he knew I didn't have to go 4 minutes out of my way to help him out, much less 4 hours. Not the idiot. If you're close to him, I'll assume he's a somewhat decent brother and not completely delusional. He's probably upset at himself for leaving everything for the morning and not being ready until an hour after he'd planned to leave. He'll come to his senses and realize he's being unfair and things will return to normal. Maybe this will be a wake-up call to be more reliable, but probably not. Don't worry about it. Next time just tell him to take Uber. Just to clarify, weddings are allowed in our area, but with limited numbers and social distancing. My 34 sister, 29, has been engaged for about 2 years and was set to get married in April. This was obviously called off, however, they decided to have a wedding with close friends and family this month. Wedding was last weekend. My sister and I don't know our dad, so I filled in that role, walked her down the aisle, made a speech, etc. Our mother has always been fairly dramatic and has been very on again off again with us in our adult lives. She has sort of improved in the past few years, but still does some not great things. My sister made me promise I would keep her in check. I spent the night before the wedding with my sister in a hotel, while my wife and kids stayed with my mother, since she only lives about 20 minutes from the venue. The morning of the wedding, my wife sent me a photo of what mother was wearing. I'm sure you all saw this coming, but it was white and very similar in style to my sister's wedding dress. Wife told me she had gently encouraged that she choose another dress, but apparently, this was the only nice thing she owned. Also locked her bedroom door, so wife wasn't able to find her anything. This is where I might be the idiot. Essentially, I told my wife to lie to my mother and say that we would pick her up on the way in a nicer car so that she could make a big entrance with my sister and I. She was obviously ecstatic with this news, so saw no issue when my wife and kids left without her. We never picked her up. She doesn't drive, so this meant that she missed the wedding altogether. We did call her just before the ceremony to see if she had come to her senses, but she didn't pick up the phone. I told my sister on the drive to the ceremony and she wasn't at all shocked. My mother is obviously livid with the three of us, wife, sister, and I. Apparently, she assumed that this would be appropriate because the wedding was non-traditional anyway. It was very traditional, so I can only assume she said that because sister is a lesbian. She says that she didn't deserve to miss the whole wedding because of it and that we should have told her earlier not to wear white. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. A little extreme and you should have checked with your sister, but not the bad guy here. There seems to be a trend lately of people wanting to make a statement at other people's weddings. Whether it is proposing, coming out, or wearing clothes that are inappropriate. I am not sure what is going on in people's minds these days. It is almost as if the ability not to be a self-centered selfish idiot is impossible. You are being asked to be witness and part of a special day for two people. It is not about you, it is them. Not the idiot. Kudos to you actually. You know, there is a lot of similar stories about weddings and difficult relatives here in this sub. Most of the time people posting here were too soft and let the difficult relatives get away with it at the wedding, and most of the time other people had to remove by force those troublemakers at the venue, causing a greater scene. I think your actions were necessary and saved the day, since the wedding would have been ruined if your mother have went with that dress. Your mother is the only person to blame. Absolute right move. I wish I would have stood up for myself when my ex's mother showed up in a white Egyptian-style outfit with a white headdress. Mind you, we were having a Halloween-themed wedding, but all other family dressed traditionally, no costumes, while we allowed normal guests to choose formaler costumes. I was livid and she saw no issue, even though it had been discussed months in advance and money was of no issue for her. This was also his second wedding and his second divorce. A little backstory. My friend Lisa is always late. And I would understand if she had a busy job, kids, or even pets. But she doesn't. She's usually late because she's texting, watching TV, taking her time to get ready, or something else non-important. A few months ago she was over an hour late to meet me for lunch because she saw that some store was having a sale and just had to look around. The other week she scored tickets to see Hamilton. It's been sold out in my town for a while. I really wanted to see it but figured it was impossible. When she invited me, I was over the moon. We had to leave by 5 in order to get to the theater on time. 6 at the very latest. She was going to drive there, but I had to drive to her place. The place started at 7. Since I know how she is, I went to her place at 4. She was taking a nap on the couch. She got up when I was there and began shuffling around. She went to the kitchen and began making herself some food. I told her, "Hey, why don't you get dressed, I'll watch your meal." She told me not to worry, we had plenty of time. She began eating around 4:15 and finished around 4:40. The whole time looking up things on her phone. I kept pushing her to hurry up because we should leave soon. She laughed and said okay. I figured if we left by 5:15 things would be fine. Around 5, however. I went to her bathroom to check on her, but I didn't see her. She was in her room painting her nails. I told her we didn't have time. She said, "Oh sure, we do, plays never start on time." She also told me besides I have to stop for gas first and drop something off to my mom's place before going to the play. I wanted to cry. I was going to miss Hamilton because of her. Then I noticed the tickets on the fridge. I grabbed mine and headed to the theater. It's a 40-minute drive with traffic, but I made it with 20 minutes to spare. When I arrived to the theater, she texted me, "Ready? I can't find you." She thought I was still at her house. I explained that I didn't want to be late for the play and that I would see her soon. The first half was amazing. I was having a blast. Lisa arrived right before the second half. She was upset with me because I left her. She said they were her tickets and I should have waited for her. But she arrived over an hour late. Am I the idiot for seeing the play without her? Not the idiot, your friend is an idiot if she invites you to something, then makes you wait around for her self-importance. To be honest, this is a crap friend altogether. Her time is more important to her than she values your time to be important to you. In the future, if you want to stay involved with her, make and stick to your own timings. I'll be at the coffee shop from 2 or 3 if you fancy meeting up, and then get on with your life after 3. She needs to realize she is missing out on you, not you enable her rudeness. Not the idiot, I am chronically late. I've gotten better over time, used to be 45 or 60 min late, gotten it down to 0 or 10 min by using alarms, scheduling things at an earlier time in my phone, setting step-by-step reminders, and setting the clocks around my house 23 min fast. I have several health and mental health issues that cause executive functioning problems. Not only would I have not set myself up for failure by doing extra, time-consuming things, painting nails, elaborate makeup, I would have suggested my friend meet me there at the 4:45 p.m. mark. Not the idiot. I have been friends with people who are late and it drives me crazy and it is extremely rude. I think what you did shifted a rude behavior to her. This isn't a movie that's playing at the theater, it's Hamilton. I do not blame you for doing this. I think I know the reason you texted her instead of telling her in person. She would have held you up further. And then she still missed half the show. Who does that? Anyways, I justify what you did, and I don't think you were wrong. It's a bit of a complicated situation right now. My wife and I got married 13 years ago. I had a son from my previous marriage who was 15 at the time, and my wife had a daughter who was also 15. The kids were already older, and we never believed in pushing them to bond if they weren't interested in that. They had their own separate lives before we married, so there was no point in forcing them into something. I'm guessing you all know where this is going. 2 years ago, my son and stepdaughter, now both 28, sat us down and confessed they have been dating over a year. It was a bit strange for me hearing this, but I was respectful of their relationship. Although it did take a while for it not to feel weird for me anymore. I did always consider my stepdaughter like my own, and we're very close. My wife was upset at first, but she worked it out by believing they would break up eventually. Now that they announced they're engaged and plan to have a small wedding in a couple months, my wife is furious. All phone calls to her daughter have been my wife demanding they break up and keeps telling her it's not natural. This has upset them both, and my wife declared she's not going to their wedding. We had a huge fight because I couldn't believe she would refuse to go to her own daughter's wedding over this. It's not like this came out of nowhere, they have been in a serious relationship for years, so she's had time to get over whatever weirdness she feels about it. I finally told her that she needs to get over herself, and if she refuses to go, then I will simply go without her. She's now mad at me for not having her back on this and acting like what she feels doesn't matter. My wife says she's allowed to not approve of their marriage, and as her husband she thought I would have her full support on this, so she feels in a way betrayed that I'm not taking her feelings into consideration. But it's also my son's wedding, and I would never miss it. Things are very tense, and she's still telling me she's hurt by my actions and that I would willingly go to something she's not comfortable with. I'd like to know if I am being the idiot for perhaps being too dismissive of my wife's feelings about this. I understand why she's feel weird, but like I said, she's had time to get over it, so I don't know. Not the idiot. Yes, your wife is allowed to disapprove of this relationship. But it also means that you are allowed to approve of it. Same rules for everyone. She's projecting her behavior onto you. She doesn't care about your feelings and dismisses them since they don't agree with her. I don't fully understand the issues your wife has, to be honest. It's not natural. They aren't related in any way. They met when they were 15, old enough to make their own decisions. Not the idiot. My little half-sister is dating her stepbrother, and though it has been strange at first, we all just got over ourselves and are happy for them. As you said, they didn't have a sibling bond, so I don't think it's weird. What I think is weird is that your wife won't go to the wedding, even though she claims that to her both of them are her children. Are her feelings more important than this special day? Because, if everything goes well with your children's marriage, this will be the only wedding she will get to attend as a mom. Not the idiot. While it is a somewhat unsettling situation, you son and stepdaughter are not related and never related as siblings after your marriage. They've been dating 2 years and know what they want. Your wife doesn't like it and doesn't seem like she's going to change. You, however, have learned to deal with the situation and want to see your son's wedding. You have a right to your choice, just as your wife has her choice not to go. You are not being unsupportive of her since you aren't trying to convince her to go. You are respecting her choice even though it isn't yours.